I will of course introduce you to our dear guests who will be sharing their experiences, but of course they will have the opportunity to present themselves, their organizations, and how they are involved in supporting innovative communities. I will start with you. Zoja is coming from Digital Serbia initiative. You will listen more about who is member, who are the founders of the initiative, what do they do, and how they plan to reshape the digital communities of Serbia. Then we have Dušan. Dušan is coming from ICT Hub in Belgrade. ICT Hub is one of the most supporting organizations for innovative startups and communities in our country. So we will be listening how you connect small and big players. This is also a very interesting aspect. Then I move to my dear STARTUP3 colleagues. We have Guillaume from Pôle SES, a digital cluster from France. He will be sharing with you how a cluster landscape in Europe looks like and how digital innovation hubs are progressing. Yes. And last, and definitely not the least, Jean-Luc from Hola-Up, innovative startup. Actually, the creator of the methodology that will be provided to our accelerated startups and SMEs. And this panel is planned to be very, I would say, flexible. We will have 3 rounds of questions to our dear guests. And of course, feel free to later on ask whatever you find interesting to learn from our dear guests. So without any further ado, I would kindly ask you, all of you guys, to tell us more about you. So we would like to see the personal touch. Who are the people in front of this great audience, and how do you see yourself as a professional? How was your, I would say, professional path? Zoja, once again, please start with you.
Is it because I'm the youngest? Okay, I'm Zoja. In terms of my professional development, so I am one of the co-founders of Started. I guess some of the audience know it. We have a space here in Novi Sad, but basically it's a network of now 8 co-working spaces and startup hubs, one of the first startup support organizations in the country. And we were as well co-founders of Digital Serbia initiative, so I'm in this initiative since its founding. And now I'm working at the initiative as a director for the startup ecosystem development. So obviously when we talk about my professional development, it's a lot around startups and tech and how can we leverage tech and especially products and add even more value to the ICT services in Serbia to leverage and to grow Serbian economy in general, and how to embed ourselves into the global and European networks. And another topic which people also know me for, and Dušan just recently mentioned, is this position of women in tech, because there is not a lot of us, so we try to be more present.
And we fully endorse that as much as possible. Great, many thanks. Dušan, now we jump to you.
No, yes,
no. They are, hosts together with us. So,
okay, so good evening, everyone. From my side, Dušan Vukanović. I'm here representing ICT Hub. You can heard about ICT Hub, I guess, yes. So me personally, actually, I'm switching careers each 5 to 7 years. I started in international development donor organization supporting democratization and building of institutions in early 2000s. Then I had my entrepreneurial journey in co-founding consultancy company in human resources management. Then since 2013-14 I'm into and around this tech community in Belgrade and Serbia, and from 2015 in ICT Hub. I will tell more about ICT Hub, I guess, in the next round of questions, really what we are actually doing. In the meantime, I co-founded two startups in the area of human resources management, but my whole career is all about development and people. And really, I believe, okay, the topic tonight is deep tech, but without people and without kind of blank sheet of paper, we cannot do much. so I'll just kind of turn back. And the whole point of like underlying all these careers is I think that it's going to be much faster than 5 to 7 years. So like we'll talk more about that.
Perfect.
So host from France.
Yes. Guillaume, please.
Yes. Hello.
So Guillaume Roux from SES Cluster. So about my personal life, if I come back to 2006, I started as Mladen in the finance business. Actually, I was working in trading, trading with large corporates in banks, especially in French banks, and then in commodities trading in oil. I've done that for a couple of years in the beginning of my career, and I thought that it was absolutely an unethical business, and I was not meant for that. So I quit, and after 1 year backpacking tour in Australia and New Zealand, doing some fruit picking and exploring things, I got back to studies, and I studied European politics. So
Complex topic.
Very complex, and I thought it was more ethical. So I went to a company called Inno in France, which is very similar to Innocence, by the way, and doing European project management and building European project for SMEs, for corporates. And then I studied a lot about clusters in this consultancy work. I work with clusters, and I had the chance to get a job at SES, which was very close to this company. It's based in Sofia Antipolis, which is a big science park in the south of France with many startups and many big corporates also in the tech field. And so I've been working for the last 7 years in SES, specializing in international business. So at the beginning I was starting to develop international relations with clusters. So this led to me to be here. And for the last couple of years, we were quite successful in European projects. So I was dedicating mainly to managing big European projects, such as the one you mentioned just before, IoT for Industry, which is a big InnoSupport project, by the way. So we project involving startups and large corporates, and now starting with the STARTUP3 project, which is very exciting. So that was in the last 12 years of my life in 2 minutes.
So from finance to fruit picking and to European politics.
Perfect.
That's quite a journey. Yeah. Good. Many thanks. Jean-Luc.
Thank you. First of all, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Very glad to be here with my colleagues. I am Jean-Luc Fretard. I'm the co-founder of Hola-Up, which is in fact a startup studio for some of you who are interested by innovation and how to create prolific ventures. Well, just an advice, look at all the literatures concerning startup studios. Just a way to make it a very efficient way to create venture, or to fail fast, you know the expression. Okay. Before creating with my colleagues and co-founders of Hola-Up, before creating Hola-Up, I was an innovation director for Fortune 500 groups, US-based or French big groups, in order to create a new project or new venture inside big corporates. So by doing that, we initiate 15 years ago methodology with systematic steps, etc. And along the year after year, we have fine-tuned this methodology, and now we have something very strong in terms of concrete action, systematic action, and we have built kind of software to help any project to be in the machine and to go step by step have to go or stop, because it's very important. Probably we'll have a discussion for that just after. So keep in mind, I'm a very old innovator. We used to say a seasoned innovator, and well, my colleagues are younger, so it's good news.
In average, you are
Yeah.
fine, right?
And Hola-Up is based in Sofia Antipolis, like Paul SCS. I was formerly the board member of the SCS cluster.
So you were supervising what they do, right?
Yes,
From a very high level.
making decision.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Good, perfect, thanks. Well, many thanks, guys, for this intro. And what I'm very eager to learn is actually, and I suppose our colleagues here, is when we understand the complexities behind your organizations, it is very interesting to find out what exactly your organizations do when it comes to supporting innovative communities, when it comes to supporting innovators, startups, SMEs, those who are willing to deep dive into something that is disruptive, something that could change the landscape of some interesting potential clients like corporates, etc. So if you can briefly explain how your organization tackled that, what is your best practice, and what are, I would say, the main success stories that you have encountered in the last 5 or 10 years. Guillaume, I see that you are holding a mic, so please just start with it.
Okay, so Paul SCS, start with Paul SCS. It's an ICT cluster based in the south of France. 2 offices, one in Sofia Antipolis, which is close to Nice, and one close to Marseille. So it's a regional cluster. We have about 300 members in the ICT field, but to be more precise, in microelectronics, IoT, big data, and artificial intelligence, and finally digital security. So we tackle those four pillars, and all the companies of the companies, of course, and research centers and other type of sector are looking for specific markets such as Industry 4.0, such as smart cities, smart health, or mobility. So this is the identity of the cluster, and how we are helping innovation and startups. It's simple. We are supporting them from the idea to the market, which means, for instance, the idea is organizing thematic workshops on those specific technologies I mentioned to help companies address technology challenges by putting them together in the same room, especially research with industry, and helping them to do projects together by making them meet, but more than that, by helping them securizing public funds. This is the core idea of the cluster, because we know a lot about how to securize, how to channel those funds, either from regional source. We have a lot of calls from the region, but also from national source. So in France, there is a policy called pôle de compétitivité, and SCS is a pôle de compétitivité, and we have been able to secure a lot of funding dedicated to R&D for the members of our cluster, and of course from European funding. And this is my personal specialty, and this is what we are doing in STARTUP3. So it's European funding.
Any success stories in connecting small and big players?
Yeah, we had in the past, for instance, we had a special business deal with Telecom Italia. Telecom Italia is the Italian telecom operator, and they were especially interested in contactless technologies or security technologies because they have there are a lot of use cases in Italy, because Italy was at the forefront of mobile telecom, and you know, Italians are very early users of mobile telecom, so Italians are were very interested in using services that our members of our cluster were providing. So we had a deal with them that lasted for more than 2 years, and we have presented them 50 innovative startups, and now out of these 50 startups in contactless technologies and in security, in digital security, they have selected three or four, and they have implemented a proof of concept. So
those startups were mainly your members,
yeah,
or around your communities?
They were our members, and we have also worked with a partner cluster in France. So we have expanded the opportunity to work with Telecom Italia to other clusters. First in France, so with a telecom cluster in Brittany, in Grenoble, and in Paris, because these are the 4 hubs of ICT hubs in France. And we have also enlarged those opportunities for clusters outside France. So we had some companies from Belgium coming down to Sofia Antipolis and present their products to Telecom Italia. We have stopped this initiative because they had found enough innovative ideas, and they had started to work with the startups. But we have had other big companies working with us, like D&D. It's a big German company, a big German company in security business, and Thales and La Poste, and so we have replicated the same concepts with several large companies, and we are still looking for other large companies that would be interested in the technologies of our ecosystem to do that. I think Telecom Italia was a really great success, and I hope we'll have a similar success in STARTUP3.
STARTUP3. Okay, perfect. Many thanks. Zoja, I refer to you again. We all know, at least most of us from Serbia, about the Digital Serbia initiative and its goals, and that it is very high-level initiative that has been founded with the goal to support digitization of Serbian ecosystem as such. Where are we at the moment? How fast the initiative is growing? What are the success stories in, going out there explaining to small-scale innovators, small business entities that it is doable, regardless of the fact whether we connect them with our players internally or on the global scale?
Okay, so just to give a small zoom out prior, so currently Digital Serbia Initiative is basically a private membership-based organization, and our goal is not, we like to think of ourselves that it's not the goal to have as many members as possible, but actually to pick members and keep it small. So currently we have, I think, 32 members. We are proud that ICT Hub is a member, and for example, in terms of like startup ecosystem, when we talk about it, we have ICT Hub, Startit, and Impact Hub, which are leading startup hubs in the country, which are our members, and that's on a small example of what we are actually trying to do, and that is enhance collaboration between different players, which is not that existing in the ecosystem itself. For example, last year we did this collaboration with Startup Genome, which is an organization from San Francisco, which is assessing startup ecosystems globally. And I was so depressed because I'm like for a long time part of the startup community that I realized that we have something that they call local connectedness, the amount of how often startup founders talk with each other, share, give advice and share their knowledge and experience, and then how much other advisors with academia, with corporates, and that is way below the global average. So that's something that we also as initiative are trying to do, but we are not working almost never directly with startups. So we are working with startup support organizations, with our members. So we have half of our members are tech companies, other half are non-tech, and that's something that we chose to have because we think that in future every company will be a tech company, and we want to have like a healthy balance of bringing and growing this digital ecosystem, how we call it. In terms of what is happening and what are the things that we are driving. So on one side, we think that there is a lot of cooperation and activities that our member companies are doing, and we also try to support them as much as possible with connecting to the startup ecosystem and to the educational system, and how we can contribute to create this digital economy which is based on what knowledge we have, and that's why we heavily invest in that segment as well. So for example, recently we launched something that's called Master 4.0 program that is now starting at four different programs in 3 different cities around Serbia, with I think 13 different faculties cooperating. And what is interesting is that it's also cooperation between foreign universities, Serbian universities, and almost 70 companies. And that's something that we always try to showcase, that it's not just academia or not just informal education or not just companies teaching people, but actually this collaboration, which I definitely mention a few more times. And in terms of, for example, startup ecosystems, the things that we are trying to cover is another problem that we've known is low early stage funding for Serbian startups. For example, it's 9 times lower than the European average. And this is something that we are trying to fix in different ways. One is like, how can we motivate our members, which are big corporates, which have some amounts of money with, investing in collaboration with startups? How can we see if they are interested to invest, how to invest? Then we are also, thanks to our, have created our own angel group, which consists of our members and how they can contribute to startups. Then we are also helping local startup and VC funds raise more money so they can put it in. And then we are also working with the government, trying to advocate for them, also creating programs which will support startup investments. So for example, but there's a lot of those different stuff, but basically we don't work directly with startups, but they're actually trying to support them from above.
I suppose advocating to the government is quite a complex process.
Yes.
But nevertheless, when it comes to members, many of your members are big entities, in fact. So
Yes.
rather larger organizations. So when you meet, do they share their experience in how they are collaborating with newbies, with small-scale companies?
Yes.
Is there any progress in this respect?
So there is, I think like right now in Serbia, it's also like almost 2 worlds. Dušan can also talk more about it, because what ICT Hub is doing is connecting those 2 worlds in a very good way. But I still think that most of the corporates in Serbia are interested in innovating, are interested in doing something around digital transformation, are aware about startups, but then there is like a huge divide on how they can communicate with startups, where they go to meet startups, and then there is a bunch of, I would say, anecdotal knowledge that they have about startups. So for example, they meet 2 startups which are out of university, 2 students, don't really know all the questions about business development, and then they tend to come and say, oh, startups in Serbia are not good. And that's something that we are trying to change, and we believe that, again, coordinating those points of touch points is very important, and that's where I think also STARTUP3 is important, because corporates have different standards. The way startup people and corporate people talk to each other, it's also quite different. And often you have in startups, most people are tech, so they talk about their product, and they don't talk a lot about business or how to sell it. And people in corporates want to hear this other part, and then they maybe sometimes don't understand the tech segment. So it's always good to have, at least in the beginning, an intermediary and somebody who does the pre-selection, the explanations, and kind of does the hand-holding, yeah. So, but I think this is really important, because once somebody comes up, for example, from the corporate world with the belief that there is no serious startups in Serbia, then it affects the whole ecosystem. Then, for example, Dušan has to talk 10 times more to prove that there is something, because you're starting with a negative, and I think we need to have more ways how to help them in that.
Perfect, many thanks. Well, since you called Dušan, I will ask him to continue in the same way. So I know that you are doing your best in the last few years to support, bridging the gap between small guys and big guys. So your department, among other activities, is involved in, communicating between small and big, trying them to sit at the same table and to actually float the innovation around. So what is the status quo, what's going on, and how ICT Hub is doing its best to support it?
Status quo is not sustainable. Yes, we are these interpreters and facilitators, mediators between gods from the Olympus corporations and these small kind of startups, and really there is a huge gap. About ICT Hub, we recently celebrated the 5th birthday, and in terms of the corporations, we are kind of still baby on lifespan of corporations. This is still maybe taller or a little bit more than baby bunny. But in terms of the Serbian local tech ecosystem, we are kind of seniors, following startup a couple of years later, and great initiatives here in Novi Sad from Georgia, and Incubator, Impact Hub. So really the whole ecosystem of tech startups and tech entrepreneurship actually is being developed in the last 6, 7, 8 years. So I would know better. We as ICT Hub started, we now position as a kind of micro ecosystem of under the umbrella of innovation and entrepreneurship, really bringing together technology startups, corporations, investors, individuals, different communities. But our story was kind of we started 5 years ago as a donor-supported incubator for technology startups, and we really have each year was a different. And it's next year's we still do not know what is going to be our focus, and that's the name of the game today. But we pivoted from tech incubator for tech startups to kind of our focus today is corporate innovation, really working together with corporations to help them have more strategic approach to innovation, develop products and services in a more startup way, and really change their DNA and inject kind of more of the startup-ish entrepreneurial DNA in these corporations. Maybe it's easier to explain what we do, so maybe you could put these kind of little boxes. So first of all, we have co-working space in Belgrade with some 100 tenants, and we have the policy of open source for all the kind of communities. So I think we have 4 to 5 events on average each day, really bringing data science, AI, machine learning, blockchain, health tech, ecotech, whatever you name it. So we really are very proud to really all good initiatives that really spread the good kind of word of what Zoja was mentioning about how to prepare for this digital economy. Of course, we have some of our events, but this is kind of this co-working and community element that we are kind of can put label hub on our kind of forehead. Then the next hat that we are wearing is, the simple one is we initiated and fundraised 1 million euros for the first local Serbian kind of privately owned fund that invests in startups. We have 7 to 8 private individuals who are investors who fundraised 1 million euros 3 years ago actually. And so far, not that many investments. I think 1 million is not such a kind of high-profile fund, but we invested in maybe 10 to 12 startups in these 3 years. Our average ticket is 30 to 50K for exchange of 1 digit equity of startups. So ICT Hub Venture, you can just go to our website and really we have an open call for for applications. And actually that could be a value added to the questions of who is going to fund this. So we really tend and we really believe that a lot of the startups that can provide solutions to corporates, we believe that this is kind of the kind of profile and photo robot of local startups, not the kids. Okay, with all due respect, but there is not going to be new Facebook or I don't know, new Instagram. It's more going to be some concrete solutions to the corporate world. So we can be partners on that as well.
Exactly.
So really, as you roll out, kind of, and we are not kind of limited to only Serbia. We are open to the region and even beyond. So co-working and community investment fund, and then around this investment fund, we also like participate with all other players, really helping like the general kind of startup kind of ecosystems, like young startups here in Serbia. 2 years ago, we just decided that there are like too many initiatives like Startup Academy, Impact Hub, Startup Center, like in Novi Sad as well. So we just kind of pulled from this kind of like very early stage acceleration programs, and then we were like more dedicated to one-on-one support to concrete startups, and like additional value and multiplier would be our fund. And the core business, again, coming back to for us, is this corporate innovation, and this is what I've been leading last 4 years. So starting from and actually like our first lab and like the first big client was Societe Generale Bank. Had actually like had the kind of 4.5 years ago, just kind of this vision that like there is something in this startup world, like some kind of like new energy, new know-how. The problem with corporation in Serbia, and like this is maybe opening the next round of questions. Actually, we have
no, it's fine. Just go.
But the
this is
problem
very
is,
interesting part.
That most of them consider innovation big thing, very important, top priority, and like you would go like in every corporation, you would see the key values. It's on the walls, like big kind of letters of like innovation and all other kind of like values that they kind of stand behind. But then when you dig deeper and see there is no strategy, there is no people, there is no structure, there is no budgets even, there is no partnerships, there is no external kind of like ecosystem. So that's coming back to the beginning, our role in ICT Hub, that we really support them having more strategic approach to innovation, like through like innovation strategies, through kind of some kind of roadmaps of like what is important, navigating them through the startup ecosystem, because otherwise they would be kind of these elephants in the like porcelain shop, like hey, we came to play with you little startups, how can we play, and like then what Zoja mentioned, that's then the problem, but they do not want to play with us. And again, like some concrete activities are really employing all this kind of lean startup, agile, design thinking methodologies, tools, customer development into the kind of DNA and really like routine procedures of corporations. But first and foremost, it's really changing the mindset of people in corporations to really widen their horizons, because change is like outside of the organization is happening very rapidly, and like if you are not catching up, you are pretty much on the road to the graveyard.
Well, it might seem that it is blackish, but I would call it rather dark gray. But I suppose there are some shining examples. There are some cases where some synergy happened, right? To a certain extent. Do you have some insight on what was the, I would say, successful mix of ingredients for such things to happen? What are those specific examples, regardless of the fact how rural they might seem in the first sight?
Yes, I mean now even 5 years later, it's very difficult to we can pinpoint a couple of really success stories. But I would just come back again to the maybe stereotype of kind of like of corporations like declaring that yes, we are open to cooperate with you little startups, our doors are open, but the whole problem is that when you enter this door, like there is like no one to meet and greet you in this corridor, and that's actually like very important part of what we do. It's no-brainer that it's easier to establish these collaborations in service-oriented businesses, in banks and telcos and like all these which are actually already within very close to some digital business models. And we have example, and actually in this very room we have like 4 years ago, like 3 years ago, Pausha, which is like a little startup that we connected with Societe Generale Bank, that even before having their product, they provided some value to the very concrete segment of like micro entrepreneurs, like IT paušalci in Serbia, kind of like they provided service. Bank recognized that and like saw that as a new channel, new value for its customers. Then Think Solvers, like data science guys who are like really doing great job with Vip Mobile. Lot of examples, but I just want to pinpoint the kind of importance of like, and that is why like the deep tech comes into the play, and now it's, I think the time is now. We work very closely with NIS, Petroleum Industry of Serbia, on really like they have a huge kind of like expense in this exploration here in Vojvodina, and data science, AI play really very important role because like 1 degree left or right when you
means a lot of money.
dig, it's really like literally 1 million euros. Also all this kind of like yes, some fresh example, we also work with Roux pharmaceutical company, and I really see a lot of bio things like bio startups and like this genome profiling, again data science and AI in oncology. So like pretty much for us every day was difficult and different and difficult in a way, but in a good way.
Okay, then I suppose in the next round we will come back to the concept how we can, you know, explain to corporates to open their doors. So perhaps this initiative might be interesting for them to join.
Exactly.
Yeah,
This is
Good, perfect. Many thanks, Jean-Luc. Wow, I mean, your core business is connecting small and big ones, right? Among other things. So, what do you do? How do you do it? And why you are proud of your service provision?
In fact, the answer is no. Sorry for that. We at Hola-Up have a strong experience on how big groups and big corporates are living. And believe me, big corporates do not innovate, never, because they are impeached to innovate for several reasons. Even if you have a big sponsorship with the CEO, even if the CEO is your father, inside the corporate we will not create any innovation, because a company, have this in mind, a company have an execution plan. So they have objectives from January to December. Innovation is a long-term or mid-term process. So it's the first problem. The second one is no one is deciding anything concerning innovation, or no one or too many people. I mean, you have the CEO, you have the salesperson who are speaking, oh well, the market is mine, so no innovation in this company without me. Oh well, but you are just a salesperson, so you are the marketing guys who are explaining the product, new product, it's us. Okay, so innovation department, I don't know. Okay, then you have the R&D or innovation department doing several things, but generally they have not enough power in the company. So at the end of the big organization, you have the business units, those who are the money and the plans, etc. So the decision is everywhere. So that's the reason why in big groups, it's not just my opinion, but we have a lot of cases for that. Innovation in big groups is theatrical. When I say theatrical, it's, for instance, going to the CES in Las Vegas for a big group without any innovation. But they are there up to the TV show, etc., but no innovation. And that is the purpose. It's a very good news for you. If you want to create some startups, it's a very big opportunity to create new products for those corporates. But alone, it's just impossible to reach the right guy. So the best way, believe me or not, but the best way is to be autonomous if you have a good idea and a good team, to create something that is running on the market. Then the process will change and corporates will come to see you. Okay, so we can we try through the STARTUP3 program to help accelerating just this part of the business. At the beginning, you need an idea, but sorry, the second bad news, idea is nothing. Forget it. What is important is what we call effectuation. So, in order to, what was the discussion this afternoon, in order to have in mind the secret sauce to create a good startups, start analysis the failure and the cause of failure. You know, it's a statistic in Serbia, in New York, Los Angeles, or Hong Kong, 9 out of 10 startups die. Okay, and generally 2 or 3 vegetates. What is worse? What is worse? It's better to fail and to create something new. But 1 out of 10. And if we look at the reasons, to be short, we can just exchange with you to be concrete the main reasons. The first one, if I ask you what is the first reason where startups dies, it's not money. First one is, you can call it whatever you want, but it's the product market fit. You have a product, but if you have no market, forget it. Okay, so what is very important is your product. Then, obviously, the second one is when startups runs out of cash. It's not a problem of the amount of cash. It's the problem of how you use it. Okay, and you all know the lean approach, etc. If you are in the tech teams or business teams, if you have an idea, create very shortly a product. And my friend Charles can tell you probably more precisely and more accurately. Don't do the main error to try to make the best product. We don't mind. Even if we don't have the product, but just the idea and how to show your idea and your product on the market, even if the product is not strong, etc., do this. By doing this, it's a way to manage the cost, energy, etc. Do not try to make the best products. In fact, it's the main reason and for startups, because tech people always want to make the perfect product, and it's a big mistake. Just try the market, then adjust it, and then you have, for instance, to give you some example, you can launch a product in just weeks. Okay, in the digital area, huh? We are not speaking about new military weapons or I don't know, but in the digital area, you can create very shortly, and I'm sure you are able to do that, and to put it on the market. And look what the market will answer you. And what is the best good news here and everywhere? From Novi or San Francisco or elsewhere, you can create the same product with the same tools. Okay? Now, digital approach and the way you can create a new product on the internet is quite easy. So, that's my advice. Start, focus on your product. Then, if we go further, deeper in the reason why startups, 9 out of 10, unfortunately die, is mainly around the team. And team is very important. So we used to understand, to listen to this topic, what is important is important. What is important is to have a full skills team, but it's not enough. You have some soft skills to manage, because it is the main points that investors, or even corporate, but many investors are looking for. And around you, if you are already a team with tech and maybe some market experience, etc., it's the biggest asset of your company. Okay, because if you fail fast, you try another, then you try another. But the team, by doing that, is stronger and stronger, and everyone will take profit of the previous experience, and one day we will succeed and reach the market. And that is the start point of the startup. A team which is growing, and a product and the feedback from the market. Okay? Everything else is bullshit. Listen to me. Everything else is bullshit. We created a startup studio for that reason in France. We have worked with hundreds of startups coming to us and trying to work with the big groups where we were working for, and they all say to us, well, we are in an incubator, etc., etc. When a startup will go to an incubator or an accelerator, etc., etc., the first thing is to give some advice around finance, accounting, lawyer. Wow, it's not the problem. We will have to look at those topics after. Just focus on how to sell. How to sell. And fortunately, in France, no incubator is well structured to give the secret sauce to sell. So you have to be by different aspects autonomous in the selling process. Again, all the rest is bullshit at this stage.
Yeah. This is very important. You can mention just now. I mean, and this is what I want to start with the final round. Is like, and I'll start with you since you have opened the discussion. How do we plan, very briefly, how do we plan to change that, or at least to inspire innovators and startups to grasp this via our STARTUP3 activities? Very briefly.
Yeah.
The catering is waiting for us.
Just by focusing on that topics. If tomorrow a startup will come to Hola-Up and to have the discussion, of course we'll have a look at the product. Then we'll have the use of our tools. What is the market in Europe and in the world? Okay, it is fully covered. Our advice is stop it. Your product seems to be very good, but except if you have a specific features for a country, but if the market is well covered, forget it and go to a new idea or something very close or different. But immediately we focus on the business and the market. We do not ask, what is your business plan? No business plan. I have no clients. So first, the market, competitor, and what is different. What we call disruption in backward.
So we will prioritize those aspects in our program.
Absolutely.
Guillaume, your 2 cents on this.
My 2 cents.
What will we do?
Yeah, what I wanted to say is this STARTUP3, we insisted in the beginning, is a collaboration between ecosystems, and I think it's an opportunity for you as startuppers or innovators or ideas people to use this network and to take the best out of it. The network is there to of course to bring you to support you in the startup uptake, upgrade, upscale, whatever you name it, phases. But it's also, I think the networking is very important. This is why we're here. We're here to meet you. You will not grow alone. So you need connections in your country. You need connection in Europe. You will need connection in the world. STARTUP3 is a very good example of collaboration between clusters, DIH, whatever you name them. At the end, we are networking. We are hubs we are clusters, so we are connected to startups, we are connected to large corporates, to investors, everywhere in Europe, and this multiplicates the opportunities for you to find customers, to find investors. This is STARTUP3, but there are thousands of other opportunities. The European Commission the European Union and the states and the regions are very proactive in multiplying the initiatives to help you to find investors, to find customers, to find partners, whatever. So use them. Really come and see us and apply to this call, apply to all the calls, apply to all the opportunities that all this public support is providing. I think this was the main message I wanted to say. STARTUP3, of course, this is where we are here for STARTUP3, but if you miss STARTUP3 and if you still want to get involved in networking and want to grow your business or whatever, use clusters, use all the tools that you see that are available from the European Commission and clusters and so on.
Perfect, thanks. So coming to you, Zoja, how do you see yourself or your organization involved in this lovely journey of ours?
Well, first of all, we'd love to get our members, especially corporates, on board and part of the network that will be able to meet the startups you do, so that I already said that we will be willing to try and coordinate as much as of them to be on board. And then I also see, I mentioned collaboration, so it's time for my final use of that word, but I really think that what we are trying to do is map the whole process. A startup in Serbia is the whole journey that a startup takes, and we are trying to connect those dots on the journey a little better. So in the sense of where are the startups that might be interested and that might be at the level of working with corporates, where they can come from. So we would like to facilitate and help you and support you even more with even maybe some media connections in there, but maybe mainly with the startup support organizations who are already working with these early stage startups, hubs, and things like that. But then also afterwards, what's the next phase? Are there some other collaborations with startups? Do they need some additional mentoring for successful Serbian startups, which are also our members? Nordius, Seven Bridges, InfoStudent, and Trilateral from Novi. And lastly, how can we connect them with investors and even present them better if they are going to find some global outreach? So basically, we want to help you with the pipeline and to make sure that the startups that end with your program, that they have also where next to go in the startup.
That they are equipped with all these values and skills.
And then don't stay standing alone, and that you are not alone in trying to help them around.
Yeah. Good, perfect, thanks. Dušan, you have been in mentorships even from the previous framework program of the European Commission, from the long time ago FP7 arena. So how do you see yourself in our activities? What we can do in order to be better in our plans?
Okay, no, I mean things evolve. So like yes, it's now the new level of the game, and congratulations to Mladen for all these great things, not only on these projects but in the last couple of years that you are doing, having all these multiple hats on your head, which is great, and we all of us have the same kind of feeling and share the same pain. We just try to be practical in terms of like ICT Hub as an organization. First of all, we can open the doors of some corporations. Maybe in our portfolio we have some 20 big corporations in Serbia, in the region, from various industries that we already opened and kind of prepared.
You cooked them a bit.
We prepared this touch point, but this is very critical. Usually, I mean not usually, the pattern is there has to be a C-level visionary individual in company that is going to take part of the risk with you if you're doing anything with that corporation. It's cannot be happening the way that you have the great idea. There are no romantic stories, like believe me. It has to be one individual who will recognize the opportunity and really vouch for you to push you. We can help identify companies and identify these kind of individuals, and there are more and more of these kind of people. I mean, they are like,
which is good news.
This is good news, and like this is happening, of course, slower than we would like, but it's happening. The second one is be aware, kind of like being startup. Your goal is to build a scalable product that really can have digital business model. And corporation can be your best friend at the beginning, but it can be a burden for you if you switch too much based on like what are their demands. So they can be good for testing the product, acquiring first customers, some promotion. They do not try like risk, also like be aware of that as well. Very difficult to get investment from them, but again, like coming back, they can help you test the product, introduce you to some of the partners, test the product within that company. So that is kind of the best value. And then you probably need to say bye-bye and thank you. And really, if you're pursuing something more global, which is I think the name of this game, I mean, this is a very short kind of period, so like be aware. And this is a two-way street. They are going to get some exposure and like some opportunity to be early tester and really like to change their DNA in that regard. And the third maybe tip is really like at the end of the day, gatekeepers are guys from this legal department, and like you really have to always have this filter of that they are devil's advocates, and they are really the most difficult to break. How company is now going to embed that in their system? So like really think ahead and really like try to navigate through that. But again, like ICT Hub as an organization is really our critical mission is to help corporations be more open and like innovate in a way the startups do. So that's why we kind of open them from all this, like from top down and all bottom up, and we are here to be partners for these great kind of projects such as STARTUP3.
Many thanks, guys. Many thanks for the panel, and many thanks to you for being such a patient listeners. So if there are any questions to our dear panelists, please feel free to shoot. If not, we do have some cozy catering over there, so we can network a bit, meet each other, and of course we will be welcoming you in our activities. Yes, please.
If you have some good story about ecology or environment protection or some startup.
I can actually, I mean, like, I was just thinking about, like, who is the corporation in most need for these kind of projects, and I would say the state of Serbia. These days, we are very aware of, but unfortunately, we also know like, how fast this is going to happen.
They are not prepared.
They are not there yet, yes. But, I mean, these days, we are really all aware of this kind of, like, air pollution problem that is kind of, like, technology is just, like, pinning it out. And I just want to like to bring one kind of like emerging kind of community which is called Ecotech Serbia, Ecotech Serbia, like, or really like all these new solutions to the problems of environmental protection and all these different things. And they are really organizing great meetups in ICT Hub and really bringing some great examples of small startups, and they are kind of becoming a hub for a very, very critical problem, which is kind of like environment protection. No, maybe Zoja, you would know maybe some of the concrete examples. Smart Cat is actually sitting here, and they are data science in energy efficiency.
But there is now Serbia is part of 2 EU programs which are also giving small. One is giving grants to green tech. So it's called, if somebody is in that area, it's called, no, that's, first one is Climate Kick. And they give grants, I think, up to 30,000 euros. And there is, I think, every year 6 or 7 startups receive those grants. And then there is another one, which is Inno Energy, which is more startups who are innovating the energy field, but there is a lot of interconnection. I think both of those programs now are organized by STARTUP3, so they're here in Novi Sad, so you can get more info, and I think both of them will be more active in the next month or two. So the selection is now February and March, so it's a good time for that. Smart Cat was Inno Energy finalist, for example. I think they even got some money.
So there are some frameworks, there are really great opportunities, but not yet some success stories that we can be all proud of. But I think the process is there, and like the setup is good for all of you interested in really tackling this very important challenge.
French cases that are interesting to share?
The question was if we have large corporates or...
On energy efficiency, right?
Some story about ecology, green energy, green tech.
Green tech.
We have in our membership, we have Schneider Electric, who's managing smart...
They're very big.
Very popular.
Smart grids devices, networks, whatever, in the field of energy management. So this is one idea of large corporate that could be. I mean, in our field, we are an ICT cluster, so we have mainly ICT or solution providers for markets. So Schneider is one solution provider for the energy management market, and this is the one I think about.
Jean-Luc, have you ever had the case to...
So just to add on this, like Schneider Electric is present here in Serbia, and they're also clients of ours, and they are very open to this really like energy efficiency initiative, so we can really connect you
Especially the Belgrade part.
Yeah, sales guys, not the IT guys here.
Have you had the case of collaborating with a startup in these technologies? Not in particular.
I'm afraid not,
No.
but it's of course a very high potential sector, because everybody is looking for answer to climate change, savings, etc. So the question is, what are you working on? Technology, software, etc. So we have to.
Everybody talking but not working.
Yeah, you apply, you got selected if you are good enough, and then you enter the acceleration program.
Thank you for
This is the idea. Well, many thanks once again. Are there any other questions? If not, we kindly invite you to...
And we'll be around again.
Yeah.